Good afternoon and welcome to the Queensland State Netball Centre. We're here for this preliminary final in the Ruby Series, one of our first live streams for the Ruby Series. This afternoon, my name's Karen Top and I'm joined in commentary by Simone Nolatu. Welcome, Simone.
Hello, Toppy. Good to be here.
Looking forward to a fantastic match in this preliminary final this evening between the QUT Wildcats and the Ipswich Jets. Both teams have had strong competitions this year and made their way through to this game, which is a knockout. Winner takes all through to the grand final next weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a big game for both teams this afternoon. As you said, the winner will go into the big dance next week to face the Korean League Tigers, I believe, yes, for the Ruby. As you said, we haven't done many of these games, but we're very much looking forward to this game this afternoon, and really excited that it is being live streamed. If we have a look at the Wildcats lineup this afternoon, we have Fitzgerald and Morton in goals. We have Atherton, Evans and Mould and Morton in their centre court, and Turner and Nicholson in the defence end, with Phillip, Wicks and Peacock on the bench this afternoon.
Looking forward to a great match. Helen Payne is the coach there for the QUT Wildcats Ruby team. For the Ipswich Jets, Bella Wren in goal shooter, Sam Ryan in goal attack, Lucy Walker wing attack, Olivia Ridley at centre, Stevie Lingman the captain at wing defence, Sky Smith at goal defence, Emily Gilbert at goalkeeper, with their substitutions Georgia Bloxham, Bryony Payne and Emily Salmons. They're coached by Camille Reek.
Yes, it's going to be, in the Payne household after this game, someone's going to be happy and someone's not going to be happy, Toppy, with Helen being the coach of the Wildcats and Bryony being one of the co-captains of the Ipswich Jets. It's
Absolutely.
going to be, an interesting outcome for them. So I'm very, interested to see how that plays out. So we see the Jets start with the centre pass for this prelim. Like you said, they've played both each other twice this year, with both having a victory. So it's anyone's game this afternoon, I think, which is very exciting.
Contest, which we'll be looking forward to. Who settles into their rhythm the quickest and who deals with the pressure throughout the game.
Definitely. So you see Sam Ring there. Misses that shot, but a nice rebound by Bella Rin to help her settle.
Yeah, she had great front positioning. Our umpires this afternoon for this game, Cara Wennebaum and Claire Johnson, and Rachel Thomas is the reserve umpire today. So those umpires equally have been working really hard across the season, and it's always a privilege for them to be allocated to the finals.
Yeah, definitely. Great. They've had just a longer season as the players and coaching and management staff for all of the teams. So
Absolutely.
It's great reward for those umpires this afternoon, like you said.
It was a great option for that ball that the Jets centre put through. It didn't quite connect. They were scrambling hard, but not quite able to finish off at this occasion. So it'll be interesting to see what the Wildcats can do once they move into their attacking transition.
Yeah, definitely. First time the Wildcats have had the ball, they turned it over a little bit earlier, just a few plays before, and I think you can definitely see the nerves, which we would expect at this very early stage of the game. Like you said, it's the team that's going to settle first. Both teams just trying to find their rhythm.
It's interesting because the Jets are starting with a slightly different combination from what we've seen in previous weeks. With Sam Ryan in goal attack, she started a few games in wing attack. She's quite versatile across that front line. But just perhaps looking for a little bit more connection. Yeah,
definitely. With the exception of Bryony Payne, who's currently on the bench, the Jets have look like they've gone to a more experienced line, having known some of these players, not watching them that much this year, but certainly knowing of them. They've gone for, probably just a little bit more experience to help start and settle the nerves. But in saying that, it's a bit of back and forth between both teams.
Sky Smith had done a great job in defence, getting really good hands over and getting the turnover, and then they're just not able to connect with one another as they're driving down court. That's a hard ball to deliver to a player that's driving in between two opponents.
Yeah, definitely. Probably, and a really hard angle as well to deliver that ball.
So both teams just struggling to get over the top of the defenders at the moment. Holds is also very centre. She started as a goalkeeper goal defence, and she's been moving out into the mid-court in more recent years. She's very tall, very athletic, and has great reach over the ball.
Yeah, and it's great just to have that option in the centre court where you do have that little bit of height. Just helps change up that attack end. Traditionally we tend to see our smaller kind of athletes in those middle positions, but it's always great when you see a taller one there.
And that'll be an interesting matchup between Olivia Ridley, the Jets centre, against Brittany, because Olivia looks to be giving away about her head in height.
Yeah.
So she'll have to be really smart with the ball and work her way around that tall pressure that Brittany will put over her passes.
Well, the Jets doing a really good job to hold up play across the Wildcats transverse line there, having to go back a few times, but they've been able to get it to the edge of the circle.
It's interesting that we've only had 3 goals scored in the first 4 minutes of play, so this will be the 4th with the scores at 2-2.
Yeah, and I think, again, like we said, it's just taking each team just that little bit longer. And I think they're very aware of, the stakes of this game, and things just not quite going to plan at the moment. We know that tactical timeouts are also an option, so given that it is taking just that little bit long, do the coaches go to that toppy, or do they wait and just let them play it out?
I'd be tempted with this first 5 minutes, just give them a little longer to see if they can sort it out for themselves.
Yep.
As coaches, we do want them to be able to problem solve while they're out there.
Yeah, look, definitely. And I think given that both teams are kind of taking that little bit, of a time to kind of get their rhythm, it's probably not a bad call from both coaches just to leave it. It's not like one team's running away with it or has got a...
Yeah, the scorelines are still quite even at this point in time, so both teams are finding their rhythm. I have noticed both through the Sapphire and the Ruby series, when I've had opportunities to see Ruby, that the defensive pressure from all of the teams has been quite strong this season, which is always great to see.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Great.
Strong.
Yeah, great touch there. Contest by Lingman, but asked to stand out of play.
Probably just changed her body angle as she came up against her opponent on that occasion, which the umpire called her for. There's a nice mix of experience and youth in these Ruby Series teams at this point in time. They are seen as the feeder into the Sapphire.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen, athletes that have, come up and moved between both teams throughout the season. And I think the Wildcats goal attack, Annie Laurie, who would be in this team, is a good example of that. She'll play up in the Sapphire team later on tonight. Because of injury with Riley Batchelor-Dore, suffering a season-ending injury. So it's great. It's a great opportunity for those athletes, and it shows them, that there are those opportunities and pathways to move up. So they obviously would want to be playing in that Sapphire team. Yeah. So, great that they have the ability to do that.
It's we talked about it a little bit in the commentary last week around with the tactical timeouts and the rolling subs that it does actually provide a good opportunity for the younger players to spend a couple of minutes out there on court, to do their best work while they're out there, and then to come off, have a rest again, and to get to watch what's happening.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It's a good opportunity, like you said, to blood some of those younger players, to give them, a moment or two, and then get them to watch again. So we'll see.
Building up to being able to play 15 minutes at intensity in these competitions is always a challenge. And you and I both know from previous coaching in these competitions that in 15 minutes a lot can go wrong.
Yeah, totally, exactly.
A lot can go right, but a lot can go wrong.
Yeah, definitely. So we see the Morton sisters there for the Wildcats.
Sarah's another that, she's played a lot of goal defence in the past. With the changes in the game and everyone getting taller, she's transitioned out to wing defence, and I have seen her play some centre at times. She's has been with Cougars in the past.
Yeah, definitely.
Making the most of being at the QUT Wildcats
Absolutely, and having the opportunity to play with his sister, I think, is great. Probably great for her family as well, that they only have to go and watch one game when they're both in the same team.
Absolutely. Laura's built in the last couple of years as a shooter. She really, I felt, last season gained a lot of consistency in that goal attack role, and she's been building on that this year as well.
Yeah, definitely. So you see again, the ball's tending to stay a lot in this centre court. It's not really moving to either goal circle.
It's the low-scoring game at this stage, with only being 4-4.
Yeah, definitely.
Almost 8 minutes in.
What I am loving this afternoon in these early stages is that the umpires are willing to let the contest go, and really, making sure that the players are accountable for both the balls that they're giving but also taking. And I think that's a good sign. I think, particularly from a coaching point of view, we would. I'm sure the instructions would be to both teams to go hard and make sure that they're going really hard to contest in defence and making sure that they're taking it really strongly in attack. So it's great to see the umpires allowing that to happen.
It was a really nice feed on that occasion, Sam Ryan, creating some space along the baseline, just not quite able to finish on that occasion. They're going to get possession back.
Yeah, so it looks like sorry, Sam did take that. She's not been able to find a goal yet, which is maybe a sign of nerves, because I did get the opportunity to watch her last week and she was on fire with her goals, so just taking a little bit longer, but I'm sure she'll find her range soon. Great shot there by Bellerin.
The Ipswich Jets last week playing a really tough match against Downey Park in the knockout semi-final. Went into extra time by all accounts.
It did. I was watching that game, and it was the Cougars led for the majority of the game, and then the Jets were able to fight back in those, but probably the second half of the last quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you said, it was drawn. Both teams had an opportunity to win it in the last minute and weren't able to take it and had to go into extra time. So great for the fans, probably not so great for the coaches and all the players having to play essentially what is another quarter.
It is a coach killer when you go into extra time.
Particularly if you don't come out of it on the right end of the scoreboard.
Yes.
Well done, Sarah Morton there.
This game will also, if required, go into extra time tonight, because we will be playing to a result. So it's our understanding that if it's drawn at the end of full time, that we'll then play 7 minutes each way. If it's still drawn, then we keep playing until someone's ahead by 2.
Yes. I'd love to see that. I'm not sure the coaches, Camille or Helen, would be that excited to see that.
I think Camille from the Ipswich Jets might find that 2 weeks in a row could be a bit challenging.
Might be asking just a little bit too much.
If a team wins, she'll be more than happy. Jets just edging out 6-5. We've only got just over 3 minutes to go, so it's been a particularly low-scoring match at this point in time. What do you think some of the coaches will be thinking about as they go into this quarter-time break?
Yeah, look, I think they'll be happy with what they've seen. I think, there's, like we've said all kind of quarters so far, it's taken them a little while to settle, but when they have been able to connect, both teams have been able to, have some really nice plays. I think they'll just be encouraging them to continue to do that, but probably play with a little bit more freedom. I mean, obviously it's easy to watch, having not watched a lot of both of these teams, but you can tell that they're probably not playing with the freedom that they would usually. They're probably being a little bit safe, and you get that given the context of this game. But if they want the result, one of them is going to need to be brave enough to kind of just play the way that they know and can. And it's really just letting the ball go. And I think when you see that the weights just doesn't have that flow that you would expect from teams with the calibre of players that they have. So I think the team that does that the soonest is the team that's probably going to be able to pull away. And
we find that when teams are under pressure, that their vision narrows, they tend to then all be occupying the same space at the same time. That court balance tends to go out the window. Yes. So finding ways for players to, one, recognise it, and then two, be able to do something different is always a challenge.
Yeah, definitely.
Good challenge from Em Gilbert on that occasion. Em was one of the finalists last night at the Firebirds Gala dinner for the Ruby Series MVP.
She was.
That award was won by Martina Rikas from Cougars, who was their goal shooter, leading goal scorer for this competition.
Yeah, tightly contested in both the Ruby and Sapphire. So to even be nominated, I think, is a fantastic achievement. So, yeah, well done to Em there.
She's had a really consistent season this year at keeper. She's been really building and working on her, not only her fitness, but also her positioning around the body. So it's been good to see how that's then played out on court.
Yeah, definitely. And she played against Martina Rikas last week in the match. And, you know, they both had a cracking game against each other. So Em got the result last week, but Martina got the result last night with the award.
Martina did get the award last night, and congratulations to Martina. So we're 8-all with a minute to go in this first quarter. It'll be interesting to see how the last minute plays out.
Yeah, definitely.
Can anyone sneak ahead, or are we going to go into the break tied?
And is it going to be... Oh, the Wildcats have an opportunity to go to double figures here. Oh. Commentators curse every time I say it.
Jets would be happy about that on that occasion.
Yeah.
Stevie Lingman did a great job of tracking that ball in the air and really timing the leap to go up for the intercept.
Oh, fantastic touch there by Turner. So still with a minute to go, both teams not giving anything away.
15 seconds on the clock and a really strong shot.
Yeah, great shot there by Ella Fitzgerald. She's only a young athlete. She lined up for the Wildcats in the under-18 state titles earlier in the week and did a fantastic job. Right, Toppy, so 10-8, first quarter. Goodness me.
I know. Low scoring for this competition at this point in time. Both teams taking a while to get into their attacking work. Defensively, both teams doing really strong. Work both on and off the ball at this point in time. Probably cleaning up the scraps a lot. We'll go into this quarter time break with the QT Wildcats leading the Ipswich Jets 10-8. And we'll look forward to seeing you for the second quarter. Welcome back to the Queensland State Netball Centre. We're here for this Heart Ruby Series match between the QT Wildcats and the Ipswich Jets. We're coming out of the first quarter with the QT Wildcats leading 10-8, so it'll be interesting to see, Simone, how both teams go in this second quarter.
Yeah, definitely. I think we need, we'll be looking to see which team relaxes into the game a little bit more. Like we said earlier, absolutely, they do have the pressure of the season in terms of, wanting not to end their season tonight with this game. However, both teams are very capable of just playing. And so I think, the team that's able to do that the quickest is the team that's going to maybe to be able to take that lead or push out a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a big weekend here again at the State Netball Centre. We've got the QPL finals happening around us as this Ruby series is going. So we've got teams from around the state playing in the Queensland Premier League competition, and they're all going into their finals at this point in time. Anyone that's thinking about coming on down to the Queensland State Netball Centre, please join us. There's plenty of seats here. We've got the Sapphire Series game prelim final that'll be following on from this Ruby series. Lots of great netball happening all around us.
Yeah, look, it's fantastic. It's been the third weekend now that we've had, other kind of tournaments or events happening in addition to the Sapphire and Ruby, and it just makes for fantastic atmosphere, really, doesn't it, Toby? Like, it's great to see lots of netball people out and about and being able to watch, a number of games.
Yeah. So we had Vicky Wilson Cup, which was the first one, where all of those school teams that had made through to Vicky Wilson Cup finals and the Vicky Wilson Shield. So that was a great school-based competition. Last weekend we had the 16s and 18 state titles, which you mentioned before, with some of these players on court taking part in. And you were here as one of the under-19 selectors, head coach.
Yes.
How was it watching all of that young talent last week?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was, a fantastic event, a fantastic format to have the 16s and 18s together, playing in that tournament style. From my perspective, it, gives a good indication of, those players that are going to be able to stand up in those pressure moments, that, because you're looking at nationals and taking them away, to play in a very similar format when we do go away. So it was great to see those athletes kind of back up and continue to play across those 3 days.
So it looks like there might have been one or two changes out there. It just looks like perhaps the Wildcats swing attack has changed. Can you pick up who that might be?
Look, definitely Bryony Payne's come into goal shooter for the Ipswich Jets, and the wing attack for, we'll wait till it.
The challenge for us as commentators is the names on the back of the dresses are quite small, and we're some distance from the court itself, watching through the screen. So sometimes picking out their names can be a challenge.
I don't believe that it has changed. Monica Atherton Evans is still, looks like she's still in at wing attack, and she started the game.
Cool. Jets look like they've just, with those changes they've made, just finding a little bit better space coming into their attacking end at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think the experience there of Bryony Payne just able to turn, and she's been able to shoot the last 2 goals for them, which I think have just helped settle the team a little bit, and they've been able to actually take the advantage on the scoreboard in this early part of the second quarter.
Smart refeeding there for Laura Morton, gaining ground, using her teammate on the circle edge to get a little closer to the post and take an easier pass.
Just a little bit of misunderstanding there, but the idea was right.
And as coaches, sometimes we need to reward the ideas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Encourage them to just continue to throw those balls, or to, open their vision up to try and sight that movement a bit earlier, but not to kind of play within themselves, which I don't think, it looks like both teams have kind of been able to break out of that a little bit more.
They do look to be using more of the court at this point in time, that there's a little bit more space between the players, and that was a really great baseline drive that the feeder was able to pick up and deliver a good pass.
Yeah, an equally great feed there by Ridley to sight Payne. Like you said, similar kind of play happened before and they weren't able to stick it, so it was great to see them attack that play and not be influenced by the last play.
Wildcats taking a tactical timeout here to just because the Jets were just starting to get on a bit of a roll and they need to reset?
Yeah, definitely. Smart, I think, from the Wildcats' point of view. Definitely momentum, I think, was in the Jets' favour. They would have scored, I'm not exactly sure the quarter score, but the Jets were down by 2 leading into this quarter, so they've been able to, they'd be at least ahead by 5 in this quarter at the moment. So not wanting, the game to get away or for that momentum to continue. So, yeah, I understand why Helen Payne's called that.
And we see in the background there a number of the Jets Sapphire team. They're also playing a prelim final after this.
Against Wildcats as well, isn't it?
It is. So it's a pretty tough matchup for everyone this evening. The players supporting some of the the Wildcats players we can also see behind their bench at this stage as well.
Yeah, look, great. Massive day for both clubs. Obviously, all 4 teams wanting to move into the grand final next week. So it looks like there has been a change in the centre court for the Wildcats. Emma Peacock looks like she's come on into centre, replacing Brittany Mould.
Perhaps just looking for a little bit more drive through the midcourt and to use those centre channels a little bit more effectively if they can.
Yeah, definitely.
Strong defensive pressure then from the Wildcats forcing that turnover. It's a challenge when there's this much defensive pressure for players to place the ball into their teammates. How do you recognise what's the space away from the opponent and to then be able to deliver that ball?
And probably needs, the receiver to do maybe a little bit more work to show the thrower where the space is, whether it's the movement that they do first or whether it's the angle in which they hold their body so that the thrower, has a bit more clear sight. Easy said than done, though.
Absolutely.
And particularly hard when the defensive pressure is so very strong, which it has been from both teams.
And the defenders are so quick with their footwork and their reach is so good, they're often able to use their outside arm to really shut down any space that the attack is trying to create.
It's another strong challenge there by Lingman. Asked to stand out of play though. But sometimes just that, as long as it's clean and there's no body in it, but just that constant repetitive kind of pressure on the contest just helps grind the attackers down. And I think, in that last play you saw Emily Gilbert was able to, take that intercept. But often the work that's done out in front is not always, is not always valued. The protection that the wing defence and centre can provide to their back defenders is really important, particularly for players like Emily Gilbert, who have great, read the play really well and will come out, but will only do it if she thinks that she has time to recover. Yeah.
It was good timing there for Sam Ryan in the Jets attacking, and just going back to that play before with Ella Fitzgerald and Gilbert, Ella probably just got there a fraction early, had to wait for a little bit of time for the ball to come in, and that gave Em enough time to move her body and to shut the space down. So that timing element is so crucial for all players.
It was similar just with that play there with the Jets. Sam was on the goal attack. Ryan was on early and Bryony Payne missed it and then gave it, but it was too late by then. The Wildcats defenders had already sighted the ball and were able to intercept it.
And when the pressure's on, as we said earlier, just vision narrows, decision making becomes so much harder. Yeah. And our challenge as coaches is how we put those scenarios into trainings for the players to practice when they're under pressure.
Yeah, look, definitely. We do want them to be able to respond, and it's about trying to get them to understand, those things that they need to go to. We talk a lot about the process, and at times it becomes a cliche, but just getting them to remember those simple things that need to happen.
Ball rolling around a little bit there. Em Gilbert from the Jets just able to get control first.
That was a great feed there by Ridley.
I feel like the Jets circle has really opened up with Bryony Payne in there at this point in time. Today, her timing of the movement and her positioning is working. So Harriet Nicholson, the Wildcats keeper, is going to need to come up with another plan of how she can move around the body and disrupt that.
Yeah, definitely.
Jets are just pushing out this scoreline at the moment, 17-12.
Great split there by Laura Morton.
That speed as she was sweeping across the front of the circle really creates an opportunity. Good vision.
Yeah, she saw Emily Gilbert hedging there and was able to put that ball over to Ella Fitzgerald. Both former teammates, so Laura Morton would know Emily Gilbert very well. Usually on the same team, playing together for the former Suncoast Lynx, but it's great to see, a tough battle I think that will continue to play out as the game goes on.
Absolutely. That ball just falling a little short on the shot. Wildcats had good position.
Great pick up there by Lingman. She really is the crumbs kind of girl for the Jets. I mean that in the nicest possible way, but she's always, picking up those loose balls around that back transverse there for her team. And
Stevie did one of her first higher level coaching gigs last week with the under-18s Jets team, along with Jeff O'Brien, who's in the Sapphire. They had a lot of advantages, learned a lot throughout that, and we're doing a great job with the under-18.
Yeah, fantastic to see current players giving back and sharing their knowledge and expertise with the younger athletes that are in our pathway at the moment. So I'm sure the players would have got a buzz out of working with both Steph and Stevie, and it sounds like they did as well.
Absolutely. Steph and Stevie both very strong in their ability to analyse the game and very good technically and tactically. So then they found one of their challenges was how they then spoke with their players about those things and shared their knowledge.
Yeah. Yes, the art of coaching, right?
Absolutely.
But fantastic, like you said, to have current players doing that.
Yeah. Just at the moment, the Jets have been doing quite well in their attack, and it just looks like they're getting a little bit stagnant, that the Wildcats were working really hard to almost set up a box defence, push all their opponents wide, and the Jets haven't quite figured out what to do about that at the moment.
No, definitely. This is the cutest little ball, not ball girl, tail wiper.
She
so
is.
Beautiful.
She got a little bit of help from the players there on that occasion, but did a great job out on court. And that's been a really cool thing about this competition, both the Ruby and the Sapphires, that each of the franchise clubs invite players, little players along from the associations within their region to be part of the game and to be those ball girls that are on the corners.
Definitely fantastic.
One of the philosophies of this competition is to connect with the associations and to grow heroes for all of our up-and-coming players as well.
So we see that like you said before, the Jets really struggling to connect in that attacking third. Doing a great job to pick the ball up, but had a number of occasions now where they've had an opportunity to go to goal, but just haven't been able to get it to the circle edge. The Wildcats, taking their opportunities, and by doing so are able to kind of carve back a little bit of the lead that the Jets have created. And we see a tactical timeout, so not surprising that the Jets would call that timeout.
No. So we go into this tactical timeout with the Ipswich Jets leading 19 to the QUT Wildcats 15 at the moment.
But the momentum's probably back with the Wildcats. Would you agree?
Probably for the last minute or two,
Yeah.
I think, and we've got 3 minutes left in this quarter.
Yeah.
So the Jets will be wanting to just take a breath now. They've worked really hard on building up a lead in this quarter, so they'll want to be able to continue with that momentum.
Definitely.
And it's always interesting because what the players are seeing on court and then what we see as coaches from the sideline, the tactical timeouts do give you an opportunity to have that connection with your players.
Yeah, definitely. Just thinking that, Camille will be reminding them that, they've done a great job, I think, to be in this position. Absolutely. They're ahead on the scoreboard, but they can't take their foot off the accelerator, so to speak, because the game's not over by any stretch. And
there's a long way to go at this
absolutely
time.
And having kind of, if they remind themselves of what last week looked like, where they were the team that was chasing, they're kind of in a different scenario this week, but the outcome that they want is still the same. So
I'd be interested to know whether they've picked up that box defence was happening from the Wildcats and whether they've now got some strategies to be able to deal with it.
Yeah, definitely. So they didn't really the last play when they had the ball have anyone coming through that middle, but it's that's a better play.
It was a strong drive on that occasion from Sky Smith. She does that particularly well.
Great connection there. So it looks like Bellarina has come back onto court, replacing Sam Ryan.
So Bella offers a little more height than Sam. They probably have some good movements. Bella...
There you go, is a great example.
Yeah. Having coached Bella in the past, while it's not a well-known fact, she can play some pretty good goal defence, not necessarily at this level. So her defensive pressure is always outstanding, and she is able to pick off balls like that. Unfortunately, on that occasion, Jets not quite able to finish it, although it looks like they've got possession back again.
Yeah, it looked like it may have been over a third, but anyway, we didn't see kind of what happened at the end of that play, but Jets probably really need to score for their own kind of confidence at this point in time. They've had the ball a lot, but haven't been able to score, like we've said, and credit to the Wildcat defenders, though. They've not given them anything, even though at times it's looked like the Jets would score.
Even on that occasion, it looked like Bryony had a really good hold on that stretch, and the Wildcats defenders were able to get really clean outside arm around and scoop the ball out. Fell on that occasion back to the Jets, and they'll be happy to actually get another goal on the board. Strong drive across the top of the circle.
Yeah, lovely shot there by Bryony Payne.
So their attacking flow just seems to be coming together a little bit more with that change that they've made. We've got a minute to go before we go into half-time. Wildcats will be wanting to actually work really hard to get the scoreboard ticking over for them again.
Yeah, it looks like there's been a change.
Sam Wicks coming into goal attack for the Wildcats. Sam will be looking to use her dynamic movement to be able to create a little bit more space and a few more options for them in attack. And they'll be happy to have scored that goal.
Yeah, definitely. Similar kind of confidence goal that they needed. Looked like Ridley was going to do, but did the smart thing and held it up.
Nice front move and pop there from Bryony Payne, and strong on that particular goal. She can shoot from that longer range, but sometimes consistency at that distance can be a challenge.
Well done. Great block there by Sky Smith. So denied the Wildcats of a goal going into half-time, which is great. From their respect, the Wildcats obviously would be disappointed with that play. They would have really loved another goal, I'm sure, going into half-time. So we see that the Jets, who were down by 2 after the first quarter, are now up by 6 at half-time. So great job by them. What do you think was the difference for them, Toppy, in that particularly in that second quarter?
Yeah, as we've been discussing throughout, I think that they started to find better timing and better connections in their attacking end, and were able to then convert the changes they made in their circle initially paid dividends. When things weren't quite going to plan, they went to their tactical timeout and probably came out of it really effectively, which is often a challenge for teams. The Wildcats need to go back to the timing of their movements, about driving to be in front of their players, because I feel like the Jets are really doing a good job defensively at the moment, and then being able to get on the circle edge to feed.
Yeah, definitely. Great summary.
So we're heading into this halftime break with the Ipswich Jets leading 22 to the QUT Wildcats in this Heart Ruby Series preliminary final. We'll look forward to seeing you back for the third quarter shortly. Welcome back to the Queensland State Netball Centre Heart Ruby Series preliminary final that we're watching between the Ipswich Jets and the QUT Wildcats. We have the Ipswich Jets leading 22 to the Wildcats 16. 8-goal turnaround in that last quarter. Be interesting to see how both teams come out of this break, whether the Jets can continue on towards the win or whether Wildcats can claw their way back into the match.
Yeah, definitely. I think, both teams, had opportunities in that second quarter in particular, and it seems like that the Wildcats were taking those opportunities more than the Jets, but from a scoreboard perspective, the Jets obviously were able to take the lead. So, it's interesting when you watch and kind of without the stats or the data to back it up. That was the feeling, but, I still think that the Wildcats are more, very much in this game. And we see that they've made a few more changes in that mid-court in particular, with Laura Morton coming onto wing attack and Brittany Mould moving back into centre. So
it also looks like the Ipswich Jets have made a change, with Georgia Bloxham coming into wing defence and Stevie Lingman taking a rest at this point in time. That backspace opened up nicely then for that pass into Ella Fitzgerald. Laura Morton, as a goal attack, is also quite good at feeding, and she has played in that wing attack position before. So they'll be looking for her to put the ball into really good spaces.
Yeah, look, definitely. And the Wildcats have started really strongly there. I was about to say Toppy, and Ridley heard me and intercepted it. Well done.
It's always that challenge, swinging the ball across the top of the circle for the opposition, giving them an opportunity.
It's a great drive onto the circle edge there by Lucy Walker.
It was a good stretch from Bella Rynn on that occasion as well, and she was confident on the shot. The Ipswich Jets look like they've built their confidence in their shooting as this game's continued.
Yeah, definitely. Great challenge there by Emily Gilbert, but asked to stand out of play, and a fantastic shot there.
Sam Wicks. Who's come into the goal attack. She's, as we said, offers different movement patterns and footwork from when Laura Morton was in at goal attack, so they're looking to exploit her speed. More patient in the build-up, I feel, the Jets.
Yeah, took the words out of my mouth, Toby. I was about to say exactly the same thing.
It's always interesting because as coaches, sometimes we see the same things and sometimes we see something very different depending on our level of experience. And
great touch there by Sky Smith. The Jets doing a really good job there, but well done there by Wicks.
Looks like they're playing, Ipswich Jets playing split circle, where the two defenders will take half the circle each. They need to have a lot of communication for that to work effectively.
Yeah, definitely. But I think Wicks did a great job in kind of breaking that structure down by using that speed that you talked about. Just put a foot down and drive in strongly.
Going goal for goal pretty much here at the beginning of this third quarter. Jets pushing the lead out 26 to 19 at the moment, just forcing a turnover on that occasion.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for the Wildcats, but well done there to the Jets to apply that pressure just to make Brittany Mould just over push that pass a little bit to create that.
It was good movement from Bryony. Just the pass not quite connecting.
Yeah, it just probably wasn't placed well enough for her to get control of in the way that she landed. More split on that, was trying to prepare herself for the take.
It's always interesting because that bounce pass looks like an easy one, but it's actually really tough to place well.
Yeah, definitely. And hard to get when particularly for the attackers who are trying to protect some space, use their body, but then also find the ball. So it's quite a lot of things that have to happen all at once. And if it doesn't work exactly, then, yeah, you can see what happens.
It goes through their legs.
Yes. Oh. That was a great roll there by Rin. And I like that Bryony Payne actually wanted to give that ball. I think, again, it's just a sign of confidence and just that willingness. Not necessarily a risky play, but more just wanting to, having that faith that Rin would take it.
Also, really good communication starting to show through with the Jets. Like on that occasion, their centre having that ball at the top of the circle and just communicating to Bryony that she had more space behind her to get closer to the post before she delivered the ball.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you absolutely need that communication. Like you talk about, we hear and often as coaches, we tell our players to communicate, and they think it. I mean, yes, you want the voice, but it's in those little moments that you absolutely need that communication, and you need a bit of direction or support around what you see as opposed to what your teammate might not in that particular moment.
I'm about to start with a new team, and I'm actually think I'm going to ban the word communication as an answer. But I want a little more detail than that. I haven't told my players yet, so this could be a heads up to them.
Yeah, well, there are sessions when I do when because at times I think we get too, when we say communication, it gets too loud and too almost noisy, where there's a lot of words being said, but no one's actually listening to what is being said. So, often we might have, an activity where we don't talk, so we have to read each other's body language or use our non-verbals, and I find that always effective because it can be those things as well. It's not necessarily just the verbal stuff, which is very important, absolutely, but it's not always, can't always happen in particular moments or situations.
On that occasion, there should have just been called for contact as they were trying to get position. So the Jets have turned over possession to the Wildcats, and they're just, while they're getting down court, it's probably not clean at the moment, so they're still getting caught behind their players a lot.
Yeah, and you see that the attacking or the wing attack there, Lucy Walker, was able to get that turnover because they, like you said, they're not really able to penetrate or being able to penetrate that circle edge to be able to service their goal as well.
And as a defensive team, it's really good when you can force your opponents to give off that square pass, because it does give you an opportunity to come through and intercept the ball.
Definitely. And we see that Sam Ryan has come back onto the quarter goal attack. So I like what Ryan does out the front. She's quite creative, like you said. Being able to play across that transverse line near the wing attack or goal attack. And like the great pass there. See,
is that a pass from goal attack?
Yeah, I think she's going to claim it. And a big smile there by Wicks.
So Laura Morton's come back into goal shooter at this time. So two shorter players back there at the moment. Imagine that they're now looking for a very mobile circle and lots of rotation.
Yeah, look, I think it's probably not a bad, just to mix it up a little bit. I think we kind of noted that the Jets defenders would probably just, had a little bit of the advantage because the Wildcats hadn't actually been able to score in the last couple of minutes. So not a bad option to just try and, see if the speed and the movement of the two goalers that are on now can try and open that circle up a little bit for them.
We talked earlier in the match around both teams were really caught in very small spaces when they were attacking. I feel like the Jets now are using all of the court more often. We've just lost the ball into the stand, and given there's all of our spectators are sitting on the other side of the court, we needed someone to go over the fence to get it.
It's been retrieved, thankfully.
Yes. Jets were setting up their shooters there, setting up a bit of almost a screen in some respects, setting up close together and then peeling off. Fortunately, the shot not dropping on that occasion.
Oh, well done, Sky Smith. Fantastic.
Sky's been a really experienced netballer in these competitions for some time. She has played Div 1 in the previous competition. Now, starting to play in the Ruby and lending her experience to the players around her.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as we've seen, the Ruby, both competitions have been really tightly contested, and we've seen a great mix of youth and experience across both. So it's, fantastic to see players like Sky, Sarah Morton for the Wildcats, have been around for many years playing. Because the benefit that those younger players get from them being in that daily training environment, and also learning in these really pressure moments, how to make the play when it counts.
We saw in the under-17 QPL final earlier where Metro played against Northern Gold Coast in the final. That game went into overtime. It's my understanding yesterday Metro had been ahead with only a few minutes to go, and Northern were able to run them down and win the game yesterday, and then both teams made it through to the finals today, and Metro were able to grab the win in extra time.
Yeah, wow.
So being able to deal with that pressure in those tight games, those players are learning a lot in those age groups as well.
Absolutely. Since Atherton Evans back on at wing attack for the Wildcats.
The Ipswich Jets defenders and Gilbert and Guy Smith are making the Wildcats work particularly hard to get those balls through.
Yeah, definitely. They're definitely earning their goals this afternoon.
Another change for the Wildcats by the look of it, with Claudia Phillips coming to goal defence.
Great movement there by the Jets to try and open up an opportunity. I think the experience and smarts now with Ryan and Payne back there, the Wildcats probably did need to have something different back in that circle. Again, similar to what they're doing or what they're attempting to do down in their goal attacking end, looking to do something similar down in the defence end. That's out to 11, 12 goals now, so they really do need to do something. 11 goals, out to 11 goals. And it's late in the third quarter, so they can't leave it too late to make their comeback.
It's still doable at this point in time, but it will require them to break some of those Ipswich Jets centre passes as well as hold on to their own.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely need more ball. And they need to get it into the goal circle and score, obviously, but that's probably the thing that they're struggling with the most at the moment, and turnovers like that is not going to help them. Well
that
done.
Tough game that the Jets had against Downey Park last week has also probably played into this as well, that they had to learn a lot about themselves and what they could do under pressure to get through that game and to make it into this prelim final.
Yeah, look, definitely. I think, they would understand, the work that's required. No, I think both teams would definitely, but I think just having that experience, and it's such a recent experience for the Jets, may be an advantage. It's
that challenge because the Wildcats played 1v2. They lost that match to the Tigers last week. The Tigers have gone straight through to the grand final. So when you're the team that's coming off a loss against the team that's coming off a really tough win in overtime,
yeah,
the mindsets can be interesting.
Yeah, look, definitely. So it's definitely how they've approached those results. Like, I think from the Jets' perspective, probably lots of positivity, given that they did really not really challenge that game from the scoreboard point of view until late in that fourth quarter. So knowing that that they have the ability to play out and then play extra time and win. The Wildcats, on the other hand, suffered a fairly hefty defeat. So the way in which they approach that, it will be interesting to see and to see how it has influenced, like you said, their mindset coming into this game.
And it's also that other element that we have to take into account is with the Sapphire Wildcats team losing Riley Battle due to her ACL, Annie Laurie being elevated from the Ruby team into the Sapphires. Annie was an integral part of this Ruby team for the Wildcats all season, and now she's not available for these tough matches at the end. So the teams then have to make that major readjustment. Annie's such a strong post that they're leading to, and now they're having to find other ways to get the ball to the circle, and probably showing some of that change.
Definitely. Well, I mean, I think it's reflective of the fact that at the moment the Wildcats are probably struggling a little bit down in this attack end, and that would explain it, given if they've been playing with a player that is really one of their key players for the majority of the season, really, and then to have that change up at the 11th hour would be tough for any team. In saying that, though, that they've done a fantastic job. All the goals that have been on so far today, you can see they're really trying. It's just that connection and that understanding that you really rely on in games like this, because you've had a whole season. You use that base. So when that base is lost, it's very tough.
And it's that challenge always as a coach, where you're happy for your player to get an opportunity to go up the next level, and always feeling a little bit challenged about how you deal with the change with not a lot of time to gain experience from the rest of the group.
Yeah, that is, it's definitely a challenge, but I suppose it's
part of sport.
And it is what it is. It's kind of, they would be very well aware of it, but it doesn't make it less difficult.
Yeah, so we go into this third quarter break with the Jets just continuing to push out the scoreline. The Ipswich Jets are leading 34 against the QUT Wildcats 23. We'll look forward to a strong fourth quarter. The Jets know that, given that they came back in the fourth quarter last week in their own game, that they'll need to keep pushing on and to hold the Wildcats at the bay. And the Wildcats know that this is do or die in this final quarter for their season, so they'll be putting every effort on court in the final quarter, and we'll look forward to the battle. Welcome back to the Queensland State Netball Centre for this preliminary final in the Heart Ruby Series. We're having a great time live streaming the preliminary final for the Ruby Series for the first time this season. We've got the Ipswich Jets, who are currently leading 34 against the QUT Wildcats 23. One more quarter to go for both teams in this prelim final. See who plays against the Carina Leagues Club Tigers next week.
Yeah, look, I think obviously the Jets are in the prime position, the box seat, I suppose, coming into this last quarter. From the scoreboard perspective, they're really, wanting to get on their scooter and finish this quarter off. The Wildcats, on the other hand, I think it's not over for them. It's going to be a hard ask, absolutely, but they're very capable of it, and they've shown touches of it throughout the game, haven't they? Absolutely.
So they'll be wanting to try and get a couple of turnovers early, I would think, and then to be able to convert. And we've talked a lot statistically throughout the season around the teams that can not only get the turnover but convert from them are the ones that normally come out on top.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, the Wildcats definitely have turned the ball over down in their defensive end. They've done a great job at doing that. haven't been able to convert, but not necessarily because the shooters haven't been putting it to goal necessarily. Hasn't even reached the goal or the circle edge at times. But when they have done it and they've got their kind of rhythm and timing right, it's been beautiful to watch. So I hope for them that they do, finish this quarter and have a few more of those plays, more consistently throughout this last quarter.
So we've got Sarah Morton playing in centre for the Wildcats with Laura Morton at wing attack at this point in time. So looking for Sarah to be able to use her athleticism and her drive and potentially also her defensive pressure in the centre.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, they need the ball, so why not, kind of make their centre court a little bit more defensive to allow them that opportunity to do that. And I mean, even when Sarah is back at wing defence or goal defence, one of her strengths is her attacking game. So I don't think it's, I think it's a really wise, move to do that. And it's a great rebound there by Nicholson. And so, well done.
Laura Martin is so good at picking up those scraps. You see Sky Smith doing what she does well and trying to turn that ball over. Ella Fitzgerald's also come back onto the court in goal shooter, so looking to see now that she's had a little bit of time to sit back and watch what's been happening and what the Jets have been doing defensively to see if she can get her positioning and her timing working.
Yeah, I think she, she presents really strongly, but I think, like you said, it is the timing. It's the timing aspect at times. She comes off too early
And on that occasion, she did a really good job of just waiting for that ball to be over her head before she moved.
Yeah.
Keeping Em Gilbert, the goalkeeper, away from it. So they've got one turnover?
They have. They've brought it back to 10, which is, and then unfortunately they've given it away. But, they only need, realistically, they need 5 turnovers and to score their own centre passes.
Yep.
They probably... it's a hard collision there. They probably have got that. They probably have been able to get 5 turnovers per quarter. It's just been their ability to score off them.
Sarah Morton just needed to change her line on that occasion so that she was going for the ball. Just got caught on the body. Both players have been able to get up and walk away from it, and the floor's been wiped.
Well done there, Nicholson. Great challenge and a great pick up there by Sarah Morton.
Because the Jets also have to be careful that they don't go too far back into their shell.
Yeah, definitely. Sarah Morton got held up there. I don't know whether she remembered, but she was centre. She wasn't looked like she was kind of thinking about
wing defence?
Yeah, entering down.
Slick timing on that occasion from the Jets.
Yeah, Bryony Haynes' timing has been impeccable this afternoon, and her shots as well. She's took a little while for the Jet circle across the 3 goalers to settle, but now that they've found their range, it's great to see them just turning and going to goal.
She looks like she's doing a lot of work off the ball as well, where she's really just keeping her feet moving. Harriet's a defender that probably likes to find the body and find that position so that it makes it easier for her to intercept, and Bronny's not letting her set up in that way at the moment.
Yeah, no, great touch there by Sky Smith. Great shot there, Ella Fitzgerald. Needed to get one back for her team, so well done. As the clock clicks down though, they'll need to score a few more. And there you go, there's another opportunity.
It doesn't take much for a pass just to not quite connect with your teammate and for the turnover to happen.
Yeah,
now
definitely.
The challenge for the Wildcats is how effectively can they use this, and forcing it into the shooter who's double teamed.
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
Just needed to look for some other options on that occasion.
Yeah, definitely. And Laura Morton was quite a long way from home in terms of the circle edge, and it was always going to be a hard pass anyway, but from that distance just made it even more harder. And hard luck there by Morton.
She's making every effort to tiptoe around the edge. Great hands there from Claudia Phillip.
Yeah, look, they're doing a great job, the Wildcats, and hope that they reward themselves. It's not through lack of trying, they're just not able to connect down here. You kind of see it, a beautiful build-up, and then it kind of almost stalls a bit when it gets to the circle edge.
And then when you're feeling the pressure, those shots just don't want to quite drop in the way that they normally would.
Looks like Stevie Lingman's coming back into the centre. Oh, unlucky there. Did everything right, got the rebound. Just slipped out of her hands, but she's been able to get it back. The netball universe was kind to her on that occasion.
It was. I feel like she's been, Claudia, since she's come into that goal defence position, has been working really hard and created a few opportunities. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's a much nicer pass.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the difference is she's on the circle edge, so much harder to defend.
Ella Fitzgerald had a lot more space behind her, just timed the movement a little more effectively on that occasion, and the ball dropped into a really good space.
So with just over 8 minutes left, and down by 10 at the moment, still not impossible, Toppy, for the Wildcats to really make a real kind of effort to take this game.
Just looking like they're in two minds about what to do in the circle at the moment. Ella was feeling that pressure of having missed the last shot. She was able to draw the penalty, get herself a little bit closer, and then was really settled, which was good to see.
Yeah, definitely. Like we said, she is a younger athlete, so having may or may not have been in experiences like this before, but certainly, as an underage athlete, she's in an open competition and she has her whole team relying on her. So just, a little bit of added pressure maybe, but she's doing a great job when she does just back herself and turn and go to the post. Wildcats just been guilty in a couple of plays, just wanting to push that past. Like, they do need to be urgent and have a little bit of urgency in their play, but they also need to make sure that they make the play as well. And it's always a really hard, fine line, but hopefully they've learnt from those last couple. And when they do get it to the circle edge, they're much more effective.
I've had a couple of conversations with some of the QPL coaches today, both the Opens and the underage coaches, around when that pressure's on, the players tend to revert back to their habits rather than those things that you've been working on in training. And that it's really hard for them to change those behaviours when they're out there.
Yeah. Which is why I think the importance of having those really high pressure environments on the training court. I mean, you might not absolutely be able to kind of emulate this kind of game-like situation, but the closer you can get, the more likely you are to break those habits and get those players to be able to identify in these particular moments how and why reverting back to those bad habits or those old habits are not always the most helpful thing to do.
Yes, always a challenge for us as coaches.
Yeah, that's why we get paid the big bucks, hey, Toppy?
There's so much money in coaching, but I would like to say congratulations, Simone, on being awarded High Performance Coach of the Year last night at the Firebirds Gala dinner. For your work with the Fusion and the Under-19s team, and also for gaining your elite coaching accreditation this year. It's been a lot of work.
Yeah, look, it's been a big year, definitely. Thanks. Lots of people that have helped behind the scenes. Very grateful. But like I said last night, you get awards for, having the privilege to work with such fantastic athletes and coaches and, managers and other officials in the sport. It's pretty cool.
It is. One of the things I really loved about the Firebirds dinner last night was it really was focusing on the relationships that we have and that we build within the sport. And, they took time to recognise coaches like Rosalie Jenke, who's been with the Firebirds for 10 years, the retiring players in Katie Nevins and Laura Clemisha. So many great stories last night, as well as recognising all of the underage athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it just shows that that our sport is much bigger than the game that we see being played out currently between the Jets and the Wildcats. It's about the people, really, at the end of the day. And it's what makes our sport so very special.
And what keeps us coming back.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great shot there by the Wildcats.
It was. It's really good to see that Wildcats just, with only 4 minutes to go, just seem to have found a little bit more freedom in their attack end. So it'll be interesting to see whether they can make use of it. Stranger things have happened. Like we said, 5 turnovers at the moment, plus scoring your own goal.
Oh, well done. Great shot there. Look, yeah. I mean, as the clock gets, ticks on, it obviously becomes harder. But, the fact that they're not willing to kind of give up and they're still fighting for every ball and on every play is fantastic to see. And that's how you create those opportunities for yourself and for your team, is by doing exactly that. And that's a great example there. Well done.
Sam Ryan was looking to get it to a teammate to get close to the post, in this sort of pressure. And the Wildcats are doing a really great job to have their eyes up and get their hands in balls. And Georgia Bloxham returning favour at the end of the court.
Yeah, both Georgia and Sky Smith have done a great job in just disrupting and making it really difficult for the Wildcat attackers to know, to have clear sight or clear delivery of the ball. On that play, though, the Wildcats did a great job to get it through.
Wildcats the Ipswich Jets taking a timeout, tactical timeouts. The Wildcats have started to come back with them. They've just closed the gap into 8 at this point in time. So we're going into this tactical timeout with the Ipswich Jets 41, leading the Wildcats 33, with 2 minutes 58 on the clock. Yeah,
look, it's still a lot of time. From the netball point of view, it's starting to become even, more difficult, but I still think there's still hope for the Wildcats, and I think they've probably sensed that, and so have the Jets, which is probably why they've called the timeout. So really interesting to see how both teams come out of this timeout with the momentum, in the Wildcats' favour at the moment.
Yep. Wildcats putting it all on the line in the last 2 minutes 58 for this quarter. Ipswich Jets equally will be wanting to hold on, that they can see the light for the grand final coming up.
We don't look like there's any. Oh, Ridley's come back into centre for the Jets. Oh, unfortunate. Oh, great rebound there. I just thought Emily Gilbert might have been successful in that rebound, but Ella Fitzgerald's rebounded really strongly there. Oh, it's getting. You can see the intensity definitely has picked up, and certainly the voices here in the stadium.
Ipswich Jets wanting to work the ball around. It's that challenge when you're in this time of the match, that you want to maintain possession without being too safe.
Yes. Oh. Yes, because the more times you pass it, the more opportunities you give the opposition to turn it over.
The ball just pinging backwards and forwards here at the moment, so both teams, a little bit of desperation potentially coming in at this point in time.
Yeah, look, definitely. The Wildcats will obviously, been playing with that desperation given, the scoreboard. The Jets, on the other hand, probably just need to remind themselves that they are ahead.
Strong contest in the air on that occasion between the two centres. Two of the experienced heads out there, in Sarah Morton and Stevie Lingman. With a minute 28 to go, great goal from Ella Fitzgerald. Keeping the scoreline within 7 would be very tough to do from this point. Great work.
Yeah, with intercepts like that, it makes it... they're still giving themselves opportunities.
Great feed on that occasion from Laura Morton into Ella Fitzgerald and able to sink that longer distance goal.
Back to 6. I think they probably have left their run a little bit too late, the Wildcats.
And Gilbert attempting to defend from behind on that occasion. It was a good contest, with umpire just deeming that the body shape changed while they were in the air. We're into the last 30 seconds, so I'm probably safe to say at this point in time that the Ipswich Jets have been able to run out this game and are on their way to the grand final next week against the Carina Leagues Club Tigers.
Yeah, look, they definitely look like they've their place in the big dance next week.
Just wanting to work that ball around. Wildcats, to their credit, just continuing to fight hard to the very last ball, which has been great to see.
There's the great shot there. Well done. Well done to the Ipswich Jets, you know, being able to close out the game despite the late fight back by the Wildcats. They did a fantastic job. Now, the Wildcats were gallant, weren't they, today? Just weren't able to find those connections that they were probably used to, but they certainly didn't give up right until that last second. So, you know, obviously disappointed. They would have loved to have been in that game next week, but they should hold their heads up high. They did finish second in the minor premiership, and they fought throughout the season and absolutely throughout this game.
Wildcats, with both their Sapphire and their Ruby teams making through to finals this year, have had a fantastic season with the new licensed clubs. They've done a lot of work to put themselves into this position, so it's been fantastic to see that work paying off. Congratulations to them for the season that they've had, and while they'll be disappointed, as are most teams after a loss, there's lots of positives to reflect on in the next few days.
Absolutely. So
great to see how excited the Jets are at making the grand final for next week. They did play a fairly disciplined game once they got past that first 5 minutes, where things were a little hectic out on court and both teams were struggling to find their shots. It was great to see that the game built.
Yeah, definitely. Well done to them. They played with freedom earlier, compared to both teams. But definitely, they've really earned their place in the grand final next week. So well done to them and to the coaching staff. And now they get to sit back and watch their Sapphire team play, I'm sure, and we'll be hoping that they join them in that big dance as well next week. The Wildcats, on the other hand, will have something to say about that.
Yeah, and similarly for the Wildcats Ruby team, they'll be pushing for a change in the result for the next one in the Sapphire Series match. So we'll look forward to seeing you back here at the Queensland State Netball Centre shortly for the Heart Sapphire Series preliminary final between the QUT Wildcats and the Ipswich Jets. The Ruby Series, Jets victorious, going through to play Carina Leagues Club Tigers next week. See you all soon.